Hello everyone, this is my reading wrap-up video for August. These are the books that I finished in August. I've read some absolutely incredible books, and I've also read some not so incredible books. So I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to go most recent to least recent for finishing the books, just because I want to start with this series right here. So this is the Carry On Simon Snow trilogy from Rainbow Rowell, and I read Carry On a couple years ago, and I liked it enough, but I didn't like it enough to keep, so I actually unhauled it. And then I've been hearing other YouTubers talk about it, so I've been kind of wanting to reread this book. So found this at a thrift store, started reading it again, absolutely loved it. I mean, I really got it this time. I really appreciated what the author was trying to do. This was a very clever commentary on the Harry Potter universe, global warming, and I just felt like it was an extremely clever, very romantic book. So I was totally in, 100%. So loved it, 5 stars. And then I got the sequel, which is Wayward Son. This one's a little different. This one they go to America, and it's a very interesting commentary on immigration. And it kind of reminded me of American Gods by Neil Gaiman, which was a very disturbing book. This was not disturbing. This was fun and cute and entertaining. They kind of did the same thing in terms of magical creatures finding a place to live in the United States. And also, how magic works based on communication and where people live and language and culture. And I found that very interesting. So I was totally 100% on this one as well. Gave this one 5 stars. Loved it. And so I decided to, I bought this one new because I was like, oh, I love this series. The series is amazing. And this is the final book in the trilogy, Any Way the Wind Blows. And it's huge. I think it's twice as long as the sequel. And I didn't like it. It was very strange. This book was odd. I really got tired of everyone in this book. I almost felt like this book didn't need to exist because the big surprises in this book were already revealed in the first book. It's just the author didn't let any of the main characters know. So when the big reveal happened at the end for the main character, it was fun for him. But we've known about this since probably halfway through book one, and then the bad guy was exactly the same bad guy as the first book, but they dealt with him so quickly and so easily. It was weird. It was a very odd book. The relationship in this book between the two main characters got very stale, very strange, very almost kind of unpleasant. I don't know. Maybe I was in a bad mood while reading this book. I'm just really baffled why I just did not like the third one. Maybe I'll reread it because, why did I pay full price for it? Oh, I got tricked. Maybe I'll just keep the set together. Maybe I'll love this book when I reread it. But yeah, it was baffling. I almost felt like she was forced to write this and didn't want to. Maybe because the first two books were so successful, but I don't feel like any of the brilliance of the first two books really translated to the third one. This reminds me of Ender's Game, where the first two books of Ender's Game were just incredible. Ender's Game and Speaker for the Dead, and then the rest of the books in the series were just terrible, and kept asking myself, why do they exist? Anyway, so that is the Simon Snow trilogy by Rainbow Rowell. I also read The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. Love this book. This book was wonderful. This was definitely one of the winning books in my shelf by shelf challenge. This was the best book on that shelf. I couldn't put it down. I read it all the way through. I loved it. I loved everything about it. This follows the story of these 5 sisters that live together, and they all commit suicide. And the story is almost kind of like an investigation by the boys in the neighborhood who like these girls, and they're interviewing a lot of people. They're looking into things. They're really trying to figure out why these girls did what they did, and they're almost kind of obsessed. And I really like this book. I thought it was absolutely fascinating. I loved the way it was written. It was like poetry, beautiful writing, and yeah, I mean, maybe I'm a bit morbid, but this one I highly recommend. I still have Middlemarch not Middlemarch, Middlesex, to read by this author, and I'm looking forward to that one. I also read Brooklyn, and I did not like it at all. I was very, very disappointed, especially since I came in with extremely high expectations. This book has been in the news recently as one of the best books ever. Maybe I don't like Irish writing, but this book just didn't do it for me. It kind of left me baffled. It was boring, and it just, I did not find it romantic at all. I did not find the character interesting. I didn't like anything about this book. This was a huge disappointment to me. I don't get it. This kind of follows this girl who she grows up in Ireland, then she travels to America, and in Ireland her life is kind of boring and unpleasant, and then she travels to America where her life is boring and unpleasant, and everyone she meets is kind of a jerk. And then she meets this guy who she doesn't even like very much. And yeah, it's just everything is so, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going to get rid of this book. I don't want to spoil it too much by my whining, but this was not for me. I didn't think the writing was impressive, and I did not think the story was impressive. Well, going back in time, I also read We Need to Talk About Kevin, and I was actually really worried about this book. This is a new cover. I had to get myself this cute new cover. This is still a used book, but the cover is different from what I had. I loved this book so much. Oh my goodness. This was the winner of this shelf that this book was on, and unbelievable. This kind of goes. This is a woman whose son committed mass murder at a school, and she is writing letters to her husband, discussing the events of what happened and her experience with him raising this boy. And I found this book unbelievably amazing. I loved it so much. I'm like running around asking everyone to read it, and everyone's like, "What is this book?" No, I'm not reading this book. Absolutely not. Yeah, this book was phenomenal. I was so into this book from start to finish. This blew my mind. I loved it so much. I was definitely engaged. And I actually looked it up on Reddit, and everyone agrees with me. They're like, yeah, this book is amazing, but no one will read it and talk to me about it because it's so disturbing. But I didn't find it disturbing. I actually, as a psychological thriller, I found this book fascinating. So 5 stars for We Need to Talk About Kevin. I also read Homeland Elegies. I really, really enjoyed this book. This book is written by the author of a Pulitzer Prize winning play. And it says it's a novel, but that's the joke, I guess, because it didn't feel like a novel. It felt like a memoir, a very, very good memoir. And but he says it's a novel, which is kind of, I think that's kind of brilliant that he calls it a novel, which I disagree with. It's basically the story of this playwright, and he has a very crazy relationship with his dad, and the family is from Pakistan. And the dad is kind of losing his mind completely because his wife died, and he's having trouble with work. He's a famous doctor, and he's dealing with his political views, and also, and then the main character, the son, is trying to take care of his dad, and he's also having some very strange sexual experiences, and also he is dealing with racism against Muslims in America, and it's a fascinating commentary. I really, really love this book. This is definitely a reread for me. It's a very unique novel, memoir. I don't know. Yeah, anyway, totally love this one. Highly recommend. If you like strange, this was beautifully written, but it's definitely a unique book. I wouldn't call it a very straightforward book. I also read Outline by Rachel Cusk. This is another book I absolutely loved. I wouldn't say this is anything exciting. There's no plot whatsoever. This is, and I wouldn't even call this a novel. Is this a novel? It says fiction. Okay. This is basically this is a woman who travels. She's a writer. She travels to Europe, to Greece, and she talks to people. And she talks to people about the most mundane things like their marriages, parenting, relationships, various events, and they kind of dissect them. And it's fascinating. I would definitely reread this book. This is a very intelligent book. In fact, I went in with a pencil and started underlining passages, just because they were so brilliant. It's a very slow book with no plot, and it's just such an incredible achievement. I definitely want to read more Rachel Cusk. This is a very good book for me. Another incredible book I read was Jonathan Franzen's Crossroads. Absolutely love this book. This is another one that was the best book on the shelf by shelf that week that I picked out. And I had this one forever. I didn't pick it up because it was so big. I read the other book, the one that won the Pulitzer Prize, by this author for The Corrections. I love The Corrections. This was even better than The Corrections. This is in the 1970s, and it's this family. They are they're dealing with a lot of very, very interesting situations. Every single member of the family is dealing with something absolutely fascinating. And I ended up loving. At first, I wasn't so sure on the dad because that's what the book started, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to finish it. But then they really dive deep into every single character's life, and it's all surrounding their mental health and their purpose in life and their ideas on life and who they want to be as people. And they're all kind of part of this cult that the dad started, but then he got kicked out of. And it's just I don't want to spoil too much, but it goes so deep into humanity and mental health and choices, and I'm completely blown away by how incredible this book is. So this is amazing. Highly recommend. I also read The Refugees by Viet Thanh Nguyen. He's the author of The Sympathizer, which I read a couple years ago, and I thought The Sympathizer was good. I didn't like it when I finished it because it was disturbing, but I think in retrospect, I think The Sympathizer is a really solid book, and I definitely want to reread it. This author is very creative, and in Refugees, this is a series of short stories about refugees, and they were great. I was definitely totally invested in every single one. I'm actually a refugee myself in this country, and to read refugee stories, this was very emotional for me. So yeah, I would recommend this one. This was great. I also read Frankenstein in Baghdad. I guess that's the first fiction novel that I finished last month, and I really enjoyed this one as well. This, I wish I could remember this one a little more. Now that I think I literally finished this over a month ago. So, but it's brilliant. It was definitely brilliant. This book needs a second reading. I don't think I really got everything out of this book on just the first reading. It's really a commentary on what's going on in the Middle East, and it's also extremely creative. It is a very profound novel. All I can really say is I need to read this one again to really understand the brilliance. But it's I guess it's a paranormal because there is a creature, and it is created from various body parts of the people that were killed in Afghanistan. Is it Afghanistan? Sorry. Ugh. Baghdad. Yes. Yes. So it's the creature is created from various body parts of people who died in terrorist attacks during the war, in bombings and various ways, and he is trying to figure out how to survive, but also whether he is good or he is bad. It's similar to Frankenstein, but very different. Anyway, highly recommend this one if you want a very difficult book that is, you need read a couple times to really appreciate. But I definitely enjoyed Frankenstein Baghdad. This is definitely a keeper. And then I think the only nonfiction book I read this month because I've been so into my shelf by shelf fiction challenge. This is The Ministry of Truth, and it's the biography of George Orwell's 1984. And I enjoyed this book a lot. I ended up buying a lot of books that were mentioned in this history book, and I'm really into utopian fiction, and this really goes into 1984 and other novels like it, and politics and history. And I definitely enjoyed this book. This is definitely a 5 star. Anyway, so those are the books I finished in August, and some really great finds in here. I mean, I know these books were already on my shelf, just sitting there for me to read. But when I accumulated so many books, a lot of them are just sitting there, and I'm not picking them up because, I read like 120, 130 books a year, and I want to read everything, but I can't read everything, and a lot of books just get lost on the shelf, and they get lost on the shelf for years. And I'm really glad I'm doing this challenge because it makes me actually pick up every single book on that shelf and really consider what is it and whether I want to finish it. And I'm actually I'm working on the fiction the what do you call, the sci-fi horror fantasy section, and I'm already finding some incredible books that were on this shelf that I for whatever reason just wasn't picking up. So anyway, I'm looking forward to a really great month in September where I read some pretty incredible mind-bending books. Thank you for watching.